I used to think that dating a 9 or 10 was a remarkable achievement. What I did not realize was how much identity and self-respect I had to lose to stay. Let me tell you a story about the time I met the most beautiful woman I've actually ever dated and the most important lessons I learned from our relationship. How it happened, it was Halloween in St. Pete, Florida. I was on vacation, walking without a shirt on, confident at 10% body fat. Across the bar, I noticed this incredibly attractive woman in a tight SWAT costume. Blonde hair, petite frame, gorgeous face, and we locked eyes. I walked up, started the convo, and instantly we clicked. Within hours, we were kissing, laughing, talking nonstop. The chemistry, undeniable. It felt cinematic, like something straight out of a movie. And I spent the entire weekend with her. And by the time I left, I felt like we had known each other forever. The morning that I flew back to Charlotte, she told me she did not want me to leave. She wanted me to stay forever. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I'd come back, and I did. I came back a week later and spent 10 days living with her. But this time, things felt a little off. Things were different. Our time together became more up and down. Some days felt incredible, deep connection, intense chemistry, deep physical intimacy. Other days, stuff came out of nowhere and it was like emotionally heavy, confusing, arguments left and right. So the highs were high, but the lows were just shit and unpredictable. Tiny arguments started over nothing, like food being left out for more than 20 minutes or what type of clothes she'd want me to wear. And I was often accused of having a bad attitude. A lot of times I felt like she was just imagining things. And sometimes me taking a shower was a sign of me ignoring her. There were just so many sudden emotional spikes and turbulence would appear without warning. To keep things peaceful, I found myself taking responsibility for things that I weren't responsible for. And at the time, I told myself this was normal, that we were just still getting to know each other early on in the relationship, and every relationship has friction early on. What I did not realize was that the emotional push-pull itself was becoming addictive. What felt like romance was actually an unhealthy attachment pattern built on intensity, not stability. It was like a roller coaster. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I visited her again. This time we went on a couples trip to Miami. What was supposed to be a romantic getaway quickly unraveled into a storm. A small moment in an Uber triggered a large emotional spiral, and from there, everything escalated. Nights turned into long arguments. Attempts to talk through things went nowhere because the past was constantly being dragged into the present. There was so much gaslighting, blame shifting, and rewriting of narratives. When we got back to St. Pete, things didn't improve. We felt like strangers. When I tried to comfort her, she pushed me away. When I gave space, she accused me of not caring. No matter what I did, I felt wrong. Eventually, I hit my limit. I was exhausted by chaos and emotional volatility. The roller coaster had to come to an end. So I booked a flight home the next morning. She panicked. She accused me of breaking her heart. She said I gave up too easily. She said everything was my fault. It was hard for me to hear these things. But the truth is, I did not leave her. I left the chaos. And it wasn't easy. She was extremely attractive, but the relationship was built on intensity, not stability and compatibility. Hope, not alignment. And as painful as it was to walk away from someone that gorgeous, the experience taught me more about relationships, masculinity, and compatibility than anything else in my life. So here are 11 lessons I took away. Number one, don't confuse intensity with romance. Intensity is built on cycles of emotional escalation and reconciliation, while romance is built on stability. Intensity is a roller coaster. When a relationship starts fast with big emotions, strong chemistry, and addictive highs, it feels like fate. But intensity does not equal compatibility. I felt this firsthand. One day we'd be incredibly close. talking about the future and feeling inseparable. The next day, I'd be walking on eggshells, trying not to trigger another emotional spiral. That unpredictability didn't feel exciting, it felt exhausting. Lesson 2. A woman's beauty isn't everything. A woman's beauty isn't everything, no matter how much your biology tells you it is. When a woman is extremely attractive, it can short circuit your judgment. You stop listening to your intuition. You tolerate behavior you normally would not. You slowly lose your boundaries without even realizing it. I ignored red flags longer than I should have because she was so attractive. I told myself the drama was just the price of being with a woman that looked like a 9. Looking back, that was me trading self-respect for attraction, and that trade never works. Beauty doesn't regulate emotions, solve conflict, align values, or create emotional safety. Physical attraction may open the door, but it cannot carry a relationship. Lesson 3. Good moments don't equal a good relationship. The highs can feel incredible, but the lows reveal the truth. You must consider the good points and the bad points of the relationship. Anyone can be loving during vacations, beach walks, and moments of closeness. The real relationship shows up during stress, miscommunication, and conflict. Our best moments were amazing, but every argument lasted longer than it should have, and resolution really never happened. Conflict doesn't get resolved unless there's clear accountability and responsibility. The same issues just kept resurfacing in different forms. Lesson 4. You can't fix someone's emotional world with love alone. Men often try to be the anchor, the caretaker, the stabilizer. I genuinely tried to show up to comfort her, to say the right things. This actually created unhealthy codependency over time. No matter how calm or patient I was, it never seemed to land. That's when I realized I wasn't being a partner, I was being an emotional stabilizer. Support is healthy, but you are not her therapist. She has to do her own healing before a relationship can work. Lesson 5. Standards must be fair for both people. A relationship collapses when the rules only apply to one person. If she expects from you what she doesn't practice herself, that's not accountability, it's imbalance. When I had to argue for basic fairness, that should have been a warning sign. Healthy relationships don't require negotiating equality. Respect requires fairness, period. Lesson 6. Don't confuse her potential with her reality. Every man falls in love with potential at some point, an idealized version of her. I kept telling myself that once things calmed down, once she felt more secure, everything would stabilize. But weeks passed and the pattern stayed the same. The ideal version of her in my head wasn't who I was actually dating day to day. Actual patterns matter more than potential. Lesson 7. Values must align long term. You can admire her beauty, but you have to live with her values. We didn't share the same core values. I prioritized health, fitness, structure, and long-term growth. She did not. She likes drinking, she likes to party on the weekends, and she likes to be a couch potato. She didn't want kids. I wanted to have kids. No amount of attraction can compensate for wanting fundamentally different features. Eventually, someone always has to sacrifice, and resentment follows. Lesson 8. The right woman brings peace, not chaos. The right relationship doesn't feel like constant emotional cardio. A good woman makes you feel calm, grounded, focused, stable, and appreciated. I noticed my body reacting negatively before my mind caught up. Tight chest, shallow breathing, constant tension. That wasn't love. That was my nervous system warning me something was wrong. Lesson 9. Boundaries must be set early. If you don't set boundaries early, resentment builds. You lose yourself, you lose polarity, you lose respect. Every time I avoided setting a boundary to keep the peace, the relationship became more unstable. Boundaries aren't punishment, they are clarity. Lesson 10. Don't apologize just to appease her. Men often apologize just to stop the emotional storm. I caught myself doing this, not because I believed I was wrong, but because I wanted calm. Over time, these unnecessary apologies chipped away at my self-respect. Apologies should repair, not pacify in the short run. Lesson 11. Your self-respect must be stronger than your desire to be chosen. This is one of the hardest truths for men. When you're afraid of losing her, you'll tolerate things you shouldn't. Booking that flight home early was painful, but it was the first moment I chose myself instead of trying to prove my worth to someone else. Self-respect is not optional. It's a foundation of any healthy relationship. In summary, dating a stunning woman taught me that attraction isn't enough. Chemistry isn't enough. Good moments are not enough. What matters is alignment, emotional stability, shared values, respect, communication, consistency, and peace. The most painful part wasn't leaving her, it was realizing I stayed attached to a fantasy longer than I should have. But I'm grateful for the lesson because now I know exactly what kind of woman I'm choosing next and what type of relationship I'm no longer willing to put up with. If this resonated with you, subscribe. I share real lessons on fitness, masculinity, relationships, and self-respect without the fluff. And if you lived through something similar, drop a comment. I read all my users' comments.